Hi everyone, my name is Mandy Medbourn, and I'm the Health and Human Sciences Educator with Purdue Extension in Stark and Pulaski counties. And today we are going to continue through NEFI's High School Financial Planning Program course together. And today we are going to talk a little bit about spending plans. So here are some things you will need and some ground rules, first of all, that will help for you to be successful as we go through this module together. The first thing is we would need you to please download Lesson 1-4 Spending Plan Lesson Pack, and that is a Word document. You can find this Word document by going to highschoolfinancialplanningprogram.org, going to the Students tab, and then going to Money Management Lesson 1-4 Spending Plan Lesson Pack. We also ask that you would please complete our pre and post surveys. These are completely optional, but if you would choose to do those, it would help us as educators to see what you have learned. Another thing that will be helpful for you is to have a pencil and some scratch paper as we go along. This will be helpful for you to make notes, to do math equations, and then also just to complete the activities as needed. We also ask that you would help rid yourself of distractions by doing a few things. The first is that you would either please put your phone on silent or that you would please put your phone away as we go through this course together. You might find that it will also be helpful for you to exit out of email, to maybe turn off music, whatever it is that's going to help you best focus, we ask that you would please do that. Also, if at any point you need to pause to take a break or you need to get a drink of water or go outside for a walk, whatever it might be, feel free to go ahead and pause and then come back later whenever you're ready to complete this module. So today we are going to talk about spending plans, and by the end of today, you should be able to create a plan for your spending that is going to help make you successful on your money journey. So let's do a quick preview together. Today we are going to answer some of these questions. The first is, how can a spending plan help me better manage my spending habits? We're also going to talk about what exactly is a spending plan. Maybe you've heard of one before, or maybe you have not. Either way, that's okay. By the end of today, you will know what a spending plan is. And then also, not only that, we're also going to talk about how you can use a spending plan in your everyday life. And so today, after we're finished, you will be able to use what you have learned to create a spending plan that works best for you and for your lifestyle. Okay, so first we're going to start by doing a quick activity. As you can see up top, it says, whoops. So listed below are all types of things that might be unexpected expenses that might come up in your life. Let's go through just a couple of them together. One might be that you accidentally download a virus to your computer and maybe you need to purchase a new laptop. Another thing might be that you might get a flat tire out of the blue, or maybe even it's that you've lost your cell phone or it needs to be replaced because it's broken. Either way, we can all agree that these are all unpleasant things that we might not necessarily enjoy, but that doesn't mean these unexpected things might not come up. So, for your first activity, what I would like for you to do is go ahead and pause this video to complete, but I would like for you to pick one of these 9 examples below of unexpected, unplanned, and unfortunate experiences. So go ahead and pick one of these, and then I would like for you to do a little bit of research to find out how much it might cost to either repair or to replace the item listed below. So go ahead and pause the video, pick one of these 9 to look up, and figure out how much it would cost to repair or replace. If you're looking online, you can always Google something such as how much would it cost to fix a flat tire, or how much might it cost to replace my flat tire. So go ahead and pause this video and complete. I promise I'll be here as soon as you get back. Okay, welcome back. So, did you find this activity easy or did you find it a little bit difficult? Were you really surprised at how much it cost to fix this unexpected expense? Or were you pleasantly surprised that it wasn't as much as you thought? Either way, unexpected events happen. And so, one thing I want to ask right now is a question for you. If this event were to happen and you had to pay up front right away that amount of money to fix or repair, would you be able to afford it or would you not be able to? If not, don't worry. We're going to talk a little bit in a couple of slides about a spending plan and how a spending plan is going to help you to be able to pay for these unexpected expenses when they arise. Okay, so let's talk a bit about spending plans. As you can see up top, it says a spending plan is a road map for success. And that's really what a spending plan is. A spending plan is going to help you prepare for both planned and unplanned expenses. And a spending plan is going to help you do that in two ways. The first is that it's going to help you identify your costs, the expenses that you might have, and then it's also going to figure out how you are going to be able to pay for those expenses and for those costs. So a spending plan is also going to help you to establish your priorities. And it's going to help you plan in advance for a couple of different things. So let's go through them quickly. The first is it's going to help you make progress to achieve your goals. If you remember from a previous session, lesson 1.2, we talked about achieving your financial goals. And so having a spending plan is going to help you to do that. It's also going to help you avoid traps and buyer's remorse. Have you ever bought anything last minute? Maybe because it was on sale or there was a flashy sign in a window saying you just had to have it, but then afterwards you realized, I probably shouldn't have bought that. A spending plan is going to help you to not feel buyer's remorse ever again. And it's also going to help you avoid traps and paying for things that you don't really need. A spending plan is also going to help you deal with unexpected, costly events. As you saw in the previous slide, these things, when they come up, can be unpleasant. And so a spending plan is going to help you to deal with those unexpected events as they arise. A spending plan is also going to help you to have money on hand when you need it. And then most importantly, it's going to put you in control of how your money is used. Your money won't be controlling you any longer because you will be in the driver's seat and you will be able to control your money and make decisions that are best for you. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Michael and Selena. As you can see here, Michael and Selena have a wide variety of expenses that happen every single month that they have found themselves needing to pay for. So let's look at just a couple of them. We see that both Michael and Selena have a cell phone, they have car insurance, they have a category for clothing and entertainment, personal care, and even donations. So we can see that Michael and Selena have their monthly expenses all listed out, and then how much each of them pay for these expenses. So let's look really quick at their total expenses. And you can find more information about Michael and Selena's monthly expenses and their incomes on page 25 and 27 of your student guide. So we see that Michael's total expenses equal $410 and Selena's equal $178. So we figured out how much their expenses cost, but let's back up a little bit. Let's see what their estimated income is. We see Michael's estimated monthly income is $544, and Selena's estimated income is $160. So let's see what the difference is in between what they have, their income, and what they are planning to have for their expenses, the money that they will need to pay for that. Okay, so let's look at the difference below. We see that Michael, after he takes his income minus his expenses, has $134 left at the end of the month. That's great. And we'll talk in a future slide about what Michael can do with that extra money. Now, let's look at Selena. Oh boy, we see here that Selena, after she takes her income minus her expenses, not only does she not break even, but she's spending $18 more than she has. Whew. So, what can Michael and Selena do? Well, in future slides, we're going to talk about how they can tweak their spending plan to help best make sure that they have the money to buy the things that they need and the things that they want. Okay, so next we're going to talk about building a spending plan. What are some things that you need to think about when building your spending plan? The first thing to think about are, what are your goals? What are the things that you're planning on saving your money for? These could be things you need or things that you want. It could be a fun trip to go on, or it could be paying your car insurance. Whatever it is, you want to think about what your goals are, because building a spending plan is going to help you accomplish those goals. You also want to think about, how long will your plan be used? Are you looking ahead for the next week? Is your spending plan covering the next 2 weeks? Or maybe you're going to have a spending plan for the whole month. Whatever it is, building a spending plan, one thing you need to think about is, how long will your plan be used? The next thing you want to think about is, how much income is available. And in the next slide, we're going to talk about how we can figure out what our income is. But we first want to figure out how much income we have. And from there, we're going to figure out what are our anticipated expenses. So, number 4, what are the anticipated expenses? So, when building a spending plan, this is going to require some forward thinking. We want to look ahead to what we anticipate our expenses might be. And there's a wide variety of expenses we might have. This could be anything from paying for your cell phone bill to maybe paying for groceries, or maybe even entertainment, going out to the movie with your friends. These are all things to think about when you're building your spending plan. And then finally, you want to think about how your plan needs to be adjusted. Maybe you take your income minus your expenses and you find, like Selena, that you're spending more money than you have. So this is where we need to go back and readjust and reevaluate what we are spending our money on. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about predicting our income. So the first thing we should think about are the different types of income. So income comes from many different forms. Some of these might be your pay, so maybe your paycheck if you have an after-school job. Maybe, like Selena, you get an allowance, and so your parents or your grandparents or whomever might give a little bit of money towards that. Maybe you have interest that's coming in. Maybe you get money for your birthday or Christmas or something like that. Or maybe even sales. Maybe you have a business or you sell things online or at a yard sale. All of these things added up together are going to make up your total income. Your income is all the money you have coming in. And so these are just some different types of income I want you to think about. So here are some tips to predict your income. The first tip is to use what is known. What are the guaranteed types of income you have coming in? This can be anything from your paycheck to your regular allowance that you get, and even average interest earned, if you have any interest coming in. These are things that we can guarantee and count on as our income. Another tip is to be conservative. So when you're estimating your income, if you're not quite sure how much money you're going to get, you should always aim lower rather than higher. So if you regularly get paid, say $300 a week at your job, but your boss anticipates that your hours could be cut next week, a good idea would not be to take $300 and add that to your spending plan as income. A better idea would be to think, okay, I'm going to aim lower rather than higher. I'm going to anticipate that I'm going to probably get about $200 next week. That way, if you get more, if your hours aren't cut, you have some extra money that you can decide what to do with. But if you don't account for that $200 to $300 gap, then you're going to be left maybe not being able to afford everything that you need to pay, and you might not be able to pay off all of your expenses. So aiming lower rather than higher is a good tip when estimating and predicting your income. Okay, now we're going to do another activity. The next activity I want you to do is activity 1.7, called My Income. This is going to be a quick worksheet with 3 questions that are going to ask you all about what kinds of income you have coming in. And maybe if there's certain times of year where there's more money than usual that you might not expect. So I want you to do this worksheet. Again, you can pause the video to complete and I'll be here when you come back, but this is just going to be a tool to help you figure out what your income situation looks like. So go ahead and pause the video now to complete. Okay, so hopefully you had a chance to do that and answer those questions. Again, figuring out your income is going to be a great first step when it comes to building your spending plan, because from there, we can work the rest of the plan. Okay, so we talked a little bit about income. Now let's talk about estimating our expenses. So we can classify our expenses into 3 different types of categories. The first are fixed expenses. Now, what are fixed expenses? Let's talk. So fixed expenses are known and regular payments. These are expenses that happen every single month or every single week. They happen on a consistent basis, and the amount of money that they cost usually doesn't change. So this could be something such as your cell phone bill, it could be your internet fee, something like that, to where every single month you know it's going to cost this amount of money. Another example might be a car payment. You might be paying the same amount of money every single month. This is considered a fixed expense. The next type of expenses are known as variable expenses. So these are known payments. You know they're going to happen, but they're irregular payments. How much you pay might change every single month. An example of that might be groceries. We all know that we have to eat, and groceries are something we need to buy every single month, but how much we pay each month for groceries might vary on many different occasions for different reasons. Maybe there's sales at the grocery stores, maybe you're going to be out of town on vacation and you might not be paying as much for groceries. Whatever it might be, we know we're going to be buying groceries every month, but how much we spend might change. These are known as variable expenses. And finally, we have periodic expenses. Now, these are expenses we know about, but they're known as occasional payments. So it might be payments that you don't pay every week or even every month, but maybe you just pay once a year. An example might be school fees. They might be when you need a new license plate for your car, or even when tax season comes and you might have to pay in for taxes. So these are known as periodic expenses. Okay, so now we're going to talk about just a couple of tips to help you estimate your expenses. The first is to use averages for variable expenses. So let's go back to the example about groceries. So we know that we're going to need groceries every single month. A good idea is to track your spending. So maybe for 3 months, maybe for June, July, and August, you track how much you spend on groceries. And maybe you see that in June, you spent $50 on groceries. Maybe in July, you spent $100 on groceries. And then maybe in August, you spent $75 on groceries. So a good idea is to look at the past 3 months, get an average of how much you've spent, and then use that when determining how much money in September you might be spending on groceries. Another tip for estimating your expenses is to split periodic expenses into chunks. Now, what does that mean? Let's look at the example below. It says that maybe you have a $1,200 car insurance premium that you pay every single year. Once a year, you pay $1,200, and that takes care of your car insurance for the month. Now, what can you do? Because say that month comes up, that's a lot of money to be spending all at once. But you can break up that large amount of money into small chunks. So maybe you take $1,200, you divide that by 12 months, and you see that if you set aside $100 every single month, when the month comes around to pay that car payment premium, you will be able to afford it because you've been setting money aside for the occasion. Okay, so now we're going to talk about something else that is going to be a great tool for you when it comes to making your spending plan, and this is known as paying yourself first. So, what does it mean to pay yourself first? Well, what paying yourself first means is that when you get your paycheck, when you get your income, whatever it might be, once you have that, before you pay or buy anything else, before you buy your groceries, before you make your car payment, before you buy your little sister a birthday present, whatever it might be, before you make those payments, you want to pick a set amount of money to set aside for savings. That's really what paying yourself first is. It's putting aside money into savings that you'll have to use later. So let's talk a little bit about this. The first thing that you can do is to set aside money for big ticket items. So for example, you might have a car that works really great and it's reliable and you love it. Fantastic. I'm so happy for you. But you realize that maybe in 3 to 4 years, your car probably is going to need to be replaced. So each month you can pick a set amount of money to set aside, and that's going to be money that you can use for a big ticket item 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road. Because you've been paying yourself first, when it comes time to get a new vehicle, you'll already have money set aside. Another thing to think about is to avoid borrowing money, which in the end ends up costing you more money. It's much better if we can to save up and to pay cash for our expenses. So when we pay ourselves first, we are setting aside money to be used for later. Another thing to think about is that it's very wise to save a little bit now for later. You might think, I'm only putting aside $10 every month or $20 or $30. That might not seem like a lot of money, but over time, those little amounts of money are going to add up and you are going to have money that is set aside to use for either something you need or something that you might want. Also, something again to keep in mind is every time you pay yourself first, you have more money to spend later on things that are important to you. By putting aside money into savings, that's not just throwing money out the window. You are investing in your future by putting money to be set aside for later. Okay, now we're going to do another activity, and this is activity 1.8, and this activity is called My Expenses. So I want you to go ahead and find this activity. And what you are going to do is you are going to take your spending log from a previous activity and use that to group your expenses into different categories. So from there, you're going to calculate what percentage of your total spending is used for each category. This is going to be helpful for you to see not only the different types of expenses that you find yourself having, but also what percentage of money you are putting towards those expenses. So go ahead and pause this video to complete activity 1.8 right now. Okay, welcome back. Did you find that easy or difficult? Did you find it enlightening? Did you see that there were certain categories you didn't realize you were spending so much money on? Again, this is going to be a helpful tool for you because it's going to make you more knowledgeable of where your money is actually going. And in turn, remember, our goal for you is to put you in control of your money, not having it control you. So, as we move forward, I want you to think about these 2 worksheets and the things that you've learned because we are going to use them in the future. Okay, so you might be saying, okay, Mandy, I've kind of taken a look at my income and my expenses, and I just don't feel comfortable with where my money situation is right now. You know what? That's okay, because we're going to help you make some adjustments to that spending plan that you might have. So, our ideal situation, what we want, our goal is to spend at or below our means. So our income should either be greater than or equal to our expenses. Now, you might find that that's not the case. And if that's not the case, here are some things that you can do to help change that. So, if your expenses, like Selena, are greater than your income, here are a couple things you can do to help adjust. The first is that you can decrease your variable expenses. So, going back to the example on groceries, maybe you're spending $70 on groceries every single month. You can decrease how much money you're spending on groceries by maybe shopping the sales at the grocery store. Maybe you can start meal planning, or maybe you can just decide to start cooking at home more instead of buying prepackaged foods at the grocery stores. All of those things are going to help you decrease your variable expenses. Another thing you can do is increase your income. So maybe you could get a second job, and that might help you increase your income, and so you will have more money for the expenses you already have. Another thing you can do is decrease your unnecessary expenses. So this goes back to thinking about needs versus wants. So maybe you can take a look at some of the wants that you have, such as maybe getting your nails done, maybe going to the movies with your friends, those types of things. Maybe you can cut back on some of those. And in turn, by cutting back on those unnecessary expenses, that's going to free up more money for you and more income that you can put elsewhere. Now, if you find yourself like Michael and your income is greater than your expenses, good job, that's fantastic. Here are some things you can do with that extra bit of income. So the first thing you can do is increase the Pay Yourself First savings fund. So maybe that's something to where you can put that money aside and into savings to reach a future goal. Again, think to maybe in 5 or 6 years, you want to save up for a new car. Maybe you want to go on a trip with your friends for your senior year. Whatever it might be, putting that money aside into paying yourself first savings is a great thing to do with your extra cash. Another thing you can do is decrease any loan obligations. So maybe you find that you're paying a student loan, a car loan, or maybe even you've just borrowed money from your friends and family. That is something by paying off those loans, that is going to, again, free up more money for you in the long run. So you can decrease those loan obligations by using extra funds to help pay off those payments. So you might be thinking, okay, Mandy, I see your point. A spending plan, is a really good idea, and it's going to help me reach my goals. But some of you might be thinking, I'm still not convinced. I'm not sure what life without a spending plan would really look like. Well, here are some things to think about if you do not have a spending plan. You might find yourself coming up short on money before your next paycheck or your next allowance payment. You're more likely to not reach your goals if you don't have a spending plan. Remember, by writing our goals down, we're more likely to accomplish them. You might also find that you have some added stress in your life if you're struggling to keep up with payments that you can't make. You may also need to give up something you planned if money needs to be used for unexpected expenses. Remember that whoops slide where we talked about a flat tire or getting a virus on your computer? And then also another thing to think about, if you don't have a spending plan, you also might need to give up some of your independence if you have to rely on others for financial help. So again, having a spending plan is going to help so you don't have to have these things happen. Again, a spending plan is just going to be something that's helpful for you so you can regain your independence when it comes to your money. Okay, so hopefully you all now understand what a spending plan is and how it can be used. So, are you ready for your next challenge? This is going to be on page 31 of your student guide. But here's what I would like for you to do. I would like for you to create a spending plan so that you can pay for the things you need and the things that you want. So we've talked a lot about it, and now is the time to put it into practice. So I want you to choose one of the following situations. I either want you to create a spending plan for a big purchase you might have. Maybe it's for an upcoming event that you want to save for, such as prom. Or maybe you want to take a look at your finances and your money and make a spending plan for your monthly expenses on a regular basis. So I want you to go ahead. You can look at page 31 of your student guide for more information, but I want you to create a spending plan so you can pay for the things you need and the things you want. Now, you might be thinking, Mandy, that sounds great, but I don't really have an income coming in. I don't have any kind of part-time job. I don't have any sort of birthday coming up, any sort of money. So if that's the case for you, on the next slide, I'm going to give you an example of a girl named Maya, and it's going to explain her spending plan situation. And from Maya's situation, I want you to create a spending plan that works best for her. So again, if you have an income coming in, I want you to go ahead and stay on this slide. I want you to pause the video or go to page 31 of your student guide and create a spending plan to pay for things you need and want. So go ahead, if that's you, pause the video now. If you do not have an income coming in, let's go to the next slide and look at Maya's situation. Okay. So here we have an example of a senior in high school named Maya. If you want, go ahead and read Maya's situation and figure out how to create a spending plan for her based on what you've learned here. So if this is you, go ahead and pause the video now to complete. Okay, if you're back, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, so congratulations. You've successfully completed a spending plan either for yourself or for Maya. Hopefully you guys have learned a lot about spending plans. Hopefully you've learned a lot about income, expenses, and needs versus wants. Again, a spending plan is going to be a great tool for you to help you take control of your finances. Remember, if you have any other questions, you can feel free to reach out to us on this course. And we hope, again, that you have enjoyed your time going through this money management module with NEFI's High School Financial Planning Program. So thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.